Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is so nice to be back here on the radio with you, taking your calls. There is so much to unpack. It's been a very eventful past week from New York all the way through to Live Fest. So we're going to take your calls this morning, 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I am so excited to take your calls, to talk to you, not just about Disney, but about anything and everything. So grab a pen, write down that number, 253-263-1540. We are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. We're going to podcast this show out wherever you listen to your podcasts under the influence. Welcome to the show. Good morning, everybody. I have to make some modifications, some improvements to the studio, one of them being the television behind me. That being said, we're here and we're not going to stop. We'll make incremental improvements as we go. One of the things we did is we took the show on the road. And you say, well, the road, you did it from Nick's couch. But we were in Brooklyn, and it was a mobile setup. And if not for the rain, I probably would have taken the show to Central Park. I almost took the mobile radio show to TikTok headquarters. I was waiting for approval, but then I left town. So what we're doing here is not just a lot of fun for me, but it's a great opportunity to talk to you. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. The last few days, I was thinking about this just a few moments ago. This wasn't even on the top of my list to discuss. But I remember the early days of live streaming the parks. And we would go 12, 13, 14 hours. And then I would go home. And I would join the Discord. And there was a gap in there. Maybe I went to get dinner, whatever it was. And it used to be, oh, take us with you. Live stream the Taco Bell drive-thru. And I'm not going to do that. Oh, you're going to Walmart. Live stream Walmart. I'm not going to do that. And even when I got home, I would hang out on Discord. I wouldn't hang out on TikTok because I thought the only thing people wanted to see was what I was showing them, which was the parks. And here we are almost 4 years later. And the things that we have done together in just the last few days have been so much fun. So much fun. But it was not because I was being pushed to do it. It's not because the audience was even requesting it. There were suggestions, maybe even inadvertent ones. But it was a natural occurrence. And the fact that even yesterday morning we spent so much time just hanging out. I mean, now my live feed is giving me 3D printers. So just all of the hanging out, all of the things. And I was thinking just before going on the air, how different things have become and how much I enjoy what is called sitting and chatting with the audience. You know, we're doing this is radio, right? We're going to take your calls. You're going to hear them. You can listen to it later. So if you miss any of this, you know, on your way to work, or maybe you're taking a business call or whatnot, it's podcasted out. But sitting and chatting on the live and just hanging out. You know, I had an exchange with Amber yesterday. Amber, who, that's what she does. She got about, 90,000 followers or something like that. And she sits there and she hangs out and she shares information and she has conversation. And she's incredibly positive. And you could say, well, what is the content? Well, the content is her. It's her personality and it's the way she resonates with people. And you see how the power of what she has built has propelled her to her own success. But I take all of these pieces and I think about them. And not that all I want to do is sit and chat, but the value in being able to spend that time together and then be able to laugh about things. And then I think about the gamification. And that's where I really wanted to start. For those of you who don't understand or know what I mean by gamification, it is taking something that otherwise would not be gamified, excuse me for using the word, but applying a game to it. So I go to order a pizza last night, and the next thing you know, we're guessing how many pieces of pepperoni are on the pizza. And that sounds so silly. But the gamification, I find that if you look back at, remember Zynga? Remember Farmville? What did you do on Farmville? You tap, tap, tap. You clicked, clicked, clicked. And I find that this version of social media that we're in now, with the tapping and the liking and the sharing and the gifting and all these different things, is the ultimate form of gamification. And then the actual moment that we're in becomes gamified. And I just look at the culture and I think how far we've come. If you know your video game history, you'll remember that the first arcade game was Pong. And it was simple, and that's why it worked. What you may not remember is that before Pong, there was an arcade game called Computer Space. And a bunch of computer programmers would play this game, Computer Space, on their computer. It was very, very complicated. And when it translated over to an arcade machine, that complication stayed with it. And it looked fantastic, the body to the game. The game was Space War, and then the arcade game was Computer Space, I believe. Gorgeous looking cabinet, fiberglass cabinet, if anybody remembers. And see now I look over here and I see the comments from Kina and I get distracted, which is why I used to not have the comments on, but I'm not going to allow Kina to distract me. So they have the first arcade game that nobody ever heard of. And it's very, very complicated. The idea of a random person, a middle-aged person, walking up to one of these things in a mall in the 70s and trying to play it, it was too complicated. So what did they do? They created Pong. Pong was so simple to play, it became so popular that people identify Pong with the first arcade game. But in fact, it was, Computer Space. Pong was so popular, the first Pong arcade game went into Rooster's Tavern, I believe, in Northern California. And it broke. Can you imagine? How did it break? Now, I'm also noticing something going on with this cell phone here. So there's time for a technical debrief as I'm spinning the plates like Benny Hill. Why did Pong break? Pong didn't break. The first Pong arcade game didn't break because they designed it wrong. The first Pong game didn't break because they didn't know what they were doing. It broke because it was so successful that they hadn't thought to make a larger coin box. And it was so successful that the coins overflowed and jammed the coin mechanism, and the game couldn't be played. It was a hit. Simplicity. And when I look at the gamification of even just hanging out and chatting and the value of that simplicity, and you can run around the parks all day long, and I have a blast going to the parks. I adore the parks, you know that. But how much fun in just the simplest of moments have we had in the last few days? And it's all been a game. And we've laughed and laughed and laughed. And I look at that and I think of Pong. You know, the business I had before this was an arcade business, these vintage arcade games. And the funny thing about Pong The funny thing about Pong is that not only did Pong launch the entire arcade boom, the entire arcade industry, but Pong would actually be the jumping off point for Chuck E. Cheese. Because Nolan Bushnell, who created Atari, saw that people were making so much money off of his arcade games that he decided he needed a way to operate those arcade games as well, because he was selling these machines to operators and they were making far more money than he was. So he created Chuck E. Cheese. Warner would go on to acquire Atari. They didn't want to be in the pizza business. Nolan Bushnell would acquire Chuck E. Cheese back. Chuck E. Cheese, audio animatronics, the connective tissue between arcade games, audio animatronics, theme parking, gamification. The through line there for me is not lost. And it's fascinating for me to reflect on my own journey, having produced content on the history of video games, having run an arcade business, having taken this platform as far as we have together and fully embraced the gamification. But I think back to what worked and what didn't work throughout the history of video games. So it's a little geeking out for me to share that with you. But for me, it all makes sense. And it's really kind of amazing when you look at how solving problems are actually the reasoning. You know, they say necessity is the mother of all invention. So that's what it means. Solving problems generally is how things get done, how success is found. You don't just say you're going to do something, you try to solve a problem. How we need to solve a problem. Now the story goes, by the time they get to Pong, being in homes, being on computer, by the time they get the success of Pong sorted out as a two-player endeavor, Nolan Bushnell decides, hey, I have a new problem to solve. I need to create Pong as a one-player game. Because what happens now if you want to play Pong and you don't have somebody to play Pong with? This is where I need my notes. So Bushnell assigned Steve Jobs to work on a game that would be called Breakout. Breakout was the solution to the problem of a one-player edition of Pong. How do we take this successful game and now isolate it for a one-player environment so people can continue to play it? It reminds me of when they started creating Instant Cake Mix. You know, Instant Cake Mix wasn't about creating cake. It was about selling more flour. We've sold flour to everyone. How do we sell you flour again? Let's solve that problem. Well, let's repackage it as Instant Cake Mix. Now we've got a gimmick. Now we've got a hook, and you're buying flour for the second time. So now, and I love this story, but it just speaks volumes to Steve Jobs, okay? So Bushnell assigned Steve Jobs to design a prototype. And by the way, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. If we're not live on YouTube, somebody tell me that on TikTok. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. So Bushnell assigned Steve Jobs to design a prototype. Jobs is offered $750 for every chip fewer than 50 on the game logic board. And he promised he'd do it in 4 days. Bushnell didn't like that Atari games had so many chips, so he hired Steve Jobs. Here's the thing, Steve Jobs didn't know how to do that. Now, if you go look at this story online, you're not going to get the whole story. You're going to get pieces of the story. But having produced a documentary on the history of video games, I have on a hard drive somewhere hundreds of hours of footage from the grandfathers, the founding fathers of the video game industry, the guys that started Activision, Nolan Bushnell himself. It is not my footage. If I could get the rights to release it, it would be amazing. But I am sitting on all of these interviews with these gentlemen and stuff that people have never seen. So Steve Jobs doesn't know what he's doing. So he goes to Woz. Wozniak actually, as an employee of Hewlett-Packard, had designed tons of things. So he gets it reduced down. But Jobs lies to Wozniak and says they're going to split it 50-50. The bottom line is this. Not only does Woz deliver on the premise, Jobs lies to Woz. The chip production triggers a $5,000 bonus. Woz walks away with $350 because he was never told the truth about the deal. Jobs goes to India with the money. It all started with solving a problem. And I look at the problem that I was trying to solve for myself, which completely unlost on me was recovering from the loss of a video game business. And I found my way through this app of gamification. I found my way here with you. And now we're podcasting. We're doing radio. We're talking. We're reflecting. I had a conversation the other day from Brooklyn with Vinny when we went to the World's Fair. Vinny called in and shared his stories, remembering as a child going to the World's Fair. Now, how could you get that story if you don't simplify things? If you don't just take away all of the bells and whistles for a minute and strip it down to a conversation. Simplicity is the key to success. If you overcomplicate things, I can't, when I'm running around the park, where I'm on the ride not trying to talk because I want you to experience things, I don't get to hear what you have to say. And I just find that the reason things were so successful for us, even in these last few days, everything from New York and beyond, was due to simplicity. And that's something that I have learned. And I just love to reflect on all of the pieces. And that's where I find growth and further education. Because if you look at those things that I just explained to you, if you look at the story, look at what worked and what didn't work. Overcomplicating things does not work. Okay? Being disingenuous, being untrue doesn't work. I mean, Woz had it figured out from day one. Woz didn't want the spotlight. He was the level-headed genius that remained quiet, did the work, was non-confrontational. Everybody loved him, and he's quietly thriving. And Jobs is a memory and an inspiration, but sometimes you just got to look at what worked and what didn't work. And I see disingenuous and I see genuine. And as much as I think Steve Jobs was a fascinating individual, I think he was a very disingenuous person. Much like a Bob Iger, which is probably why they got along. It's a what can you do for me lately? You know, Bob Iger tells a story in his book that the way he got into Steve Jobs' heart is by doing the iPod video deal with Apple and doing the deal so quick and making it so simple that Jobs would be blown away that Disney could do business so easily. He talks about it in his book. I mean, it's a strategy, but it's also a manipulation. And he knew, hey, if I can dangle the carrot and make it easy for this guy who'll want to do future business with me, even if it's not as simplistic. But allowing him to bite on that simple deal, no pun intended, would be the beginning of the building blocks to form their relationship and then in turn allow Pixar to find its way back into the Walt Disney Company. Simplicity. That's all. That's the moral of the story. Simplicity. Sometimes I overthink things myself. Many times I would have never done these radio shows on TikTok in the early day because people only wanted to see Disney. Now it turns out, no, you do everything where the people are because those who want to be here are going to be here and those who don't will or will not come back. I used to be like, no, we do this over here, we do this over here, and we parse it all out. No. Keep it simple, stupid. And it works. So I just like sharing with you what I learn in real time. I have the opportunity sitting here talking to you to explain all of that and make it make sense even for myself to connect those pieces out loud as I say it to you, because as I think about the simplicity of Pong and how everybody remembers it as the first arcade game, and Computer Space was the first arcade game, but perception is reality. It was too complicated. It was too complicated. You know, people were asking me, they weren't asking me yesterday, but we were talking about the TikTok ban. And I made the point of, hey, listen, the people that are hanging out here right now aren't worried about what are we going to do when TikTok goes away. Because if they're not following on Instagram, they're following on YouTube. If they're not following on those, they're on Discord, or maybe all of them. And there is something really, really fundamental, really simple about just sitting and chatting and hanging out with your audience. And it builds a bond. Like I said, I would have never in the early days even thought of like, oh yeah, let's go to Taco Bell. I'm not streaming Taco Bell. And I'm not saying that's what I'm going to go do. But the idea that we could go walk down the street in New York City together like we did last week or a week and a half ago, whatever it is now. I love that. And we're just having a good time and exploring. And it doesn't have to be all about Disney. And in fact, I find, despite the name of the channel on TikTok, despite the name of the channel on YouTube, despite the reason that this platform blew up, I find that at some point, if all you have is one thing to talk about, then what are you even talking about? It becomes an echo chamber. I'm all for people calling up and disagreeing with me. I'm all, you know, I had a conversation with Leah yesterday during one of the breaks about some of the future things that I want to do with the channel, you know, because it isn't, look, my goal for my eye is on a very different realm. I'm not looking at the Disney content creators, even if I once was, because the JoJos and the Alices to me were the top of the mountain in terms of how to do it right. But, having gotten beyond that, at least in my own bubble, I have my eyes set on the Kai Cenats and the Joe Rogans of the world. Because those are the people that are really, really doing it right. And I want to see this podcast in the next year be on the top 20 leaderboard of podcasts across all podcast platforms. And you can show your support for doing that by going and starring or rating or reviewing the podcast wherever you listen. You know, and then you look at the Kai Cenats of the world who have great success just being themselves and doing a variety stream. So I look at those pieces, the podcasting and the variety streaming, and I go, that's the model. That's the model. But that's also simplistic. You know, despite being variety, it is simplistic because at the end of the day, you are fundamentally having an experience with the people that want to be there. And I've reduced it down in my mind to that. We are here for an experience. Whether we are experiencing the parks, whether we are experiencing something being printed before our eyes, whether we're trying to figure out if it's going to float or how many slices of pepperoni are on the pizza, we're having an experience. And the connected tissue for me to Disney is the fact that it all started there. Literally, like, just like Disney. I mean, this whole thing started with the mouse. There's a monkey. But, you know, and I look at these things and I reflect back and I go, wow, I didn't think I'd even be here. And now we're here and we're doing it. And it is a new chapter. I feel like this post-New York has been a new chapter. I can't speak too much to it, but there still might even be a chance for us to go to London, but I got that figured out. You don't have to worry about it. I'm working on that behind the scenes. I could book a ticket and go to London right now. That's not the point. I wanted to go experience it with my peers, you know, and be doing that with them, with you as an extension of our success together. Okay. Obviously I could book a ticket right now. We could go to London tomorrow, but I like the idea of growing this relationship with TikTok. I don't think TikTok's going anywhere. I really don't. And I was looking at the dates this morning And I think that when Trump gets in office, he's got enough time to reverse course. I think that they're asking the Supreme Court to make a decision by January 5th, January 7th, something like that. So I don't think TikTok's going away. And I think that what we've done in this last week and a half has set ourselves, actually, let me back up. What we've done with the launch of this radio show, in addition to what we've accomplished in New York and in this last week, has set us up for our future on the app. Because this channel isn't just doing good for the amount of people we have. This channel is crushing it because we have an amazing community. Go look at the metrics of some other people. And I'm talking on the app, not Disney. Our average view time is higher than most. Okay? Our concurrent viewers, even at our lowest, are higher than the average. And you look at these things and you go, okay, well, what does that mean? What do you care? Well, because you don't need 500 million people at all times. You don't need, a stacked deck of viewers. Captain Eric said it best. It's the quality over quantity. And with a dedicated, committed viewership, we're going to get this podcast to the top 20. And we're going to have conversations about everything. And there's going to be times when these conversations might be difficult. There's going to be times when these conversations might not be something you want to even discuss. But maybe you just want to listen to somebody else discuss it because you don't want to discuss it or you don't have someone to discuss it with. And I love those moments. And I understand that sometimes you have to kind of work through those moments to get to the better moments, right? In other words, you have to have friction to make motion. So I encourage people to call in 253-263-1540. Maybe your gripe is simple. Maybe your gripe is, oh my gosh, I wish you would just stick to the parks. Well, okay, call in. I'm all ears. No pun intended again. I mean, they just, these horrible, unintentional puns just come running out of your mouth when you're talking as much as I am. But I'm saying that when we talk about simplicity is key, okay, sitting around and hanging out with those that want to be there creates value. It's a two-way exchange, and it's just that simple. And that's when I keep learning. I would have never put my face on camera in the early days, let alone what? The auction voice, like the rollable, a balance. I mean, all of this stuff. So I thank you for that. That is where I'm going with all this. I thank you. Because you didn't force me to get here. You allowed me to get here. And I think it's Jamie who was like, oh, you used to be all business in the park. And I'm like, well, yeah. I'm not going to step on the rides. I'm not going to try to upstage the park. But we're in my house. I got to do something. All right, Ellis. Bye-bye, Ray. Snap. But when we're in the parks, the broadcaster in me goes, don't talk during the show, right? You're not going to be like, well, here's your top 10 favorite songs. I'm Casey Kasem. I'm going to talk all over them. No, you let people listen. So it's all business. But if we're hanging out, we're having a good time. All bets off. Poor Ellis. Paige. Poor Ellis. So that is my journey. That is my understanding of how we got here. That's my understanding of where we're going. I don't think TikTok's going away. If it is, I'm not worried because the people that hung out with us this past week know where to be. They know where to go. And if I said tomorrow I'm on Twitch and we're doing something on Twitch, they'll be there. And there'll be people. Listen, I can't wait for the day when Kina has to make a Twitch account. I can't wait for the day when Kina has to go to her son and go, how do I get on Twitch? Mom. You know what I mean? That's hilarious to me. I'm not saying I'm leaving TikTok. I'm not saying your live streams in the parks got me through the hardest chapter. Kate, that is so sweet. My live streams in the park got me through my hardest chapter too. So we have that in common. For those who don't even know that story, I will give you the short version of that story. And so many of you at this point know, but the parks were my mental health escape. I was battling the dying business, the vintage arcade business, the party space, the maker space, the esports arena. It was going to be an amazing, basically, mini amusement park I was building. Can you imagine having that dream come crashing down on you? And then I was dealing with the fallout, like so many others, of COVID, and then the $2.5 million lawsuit. And I didn't tell my audience back then. I didn't know how to communicate these things to my audience back then, nor did I want to, because I didn't even want to be talking about it. I was trying to escape it. There were times we'd get off Living with the Land, and I'd be like, I will be right back. And I would get on the phone and have to talk to an attorney. And then I'd have to come back on the live and be like, all right, let's go to Test Track. And it wasn't that I was being fake, but it was just sort of like I didn't want to bring down other people by being like, oh, here's my misery, right? Like I was doing escapism for me and for them. But now it's like, hey, like 4 years later, you got to get to know each other. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. So when I say that I have my eye on the Kai Cenats and the Joe Rogans, it's not a competition in the sense of I'm coming for you. It is I am looking at those playbooks and those roadmaps, and I am eyeing them, and I am going to use them to get us where we're going next. Okay? Multi-platform streaming. I have this whole technical plan for the stream. It's the whole thing. And it's just, and I'm not even posting on my Instagram stories on a regular basis right now because I'm not even into a full groove. Like I'm trying. And then I know people go, well, when are you going to change your name? When are you going to change your name? I'm not worried about changing my name. I'm just worried about, actually, I'm not really worried about anything. Come to think of it, I'm not worried about anything, actually. Yeah. No, I'm not worried about anything because we know exactly what we're doing. So, that's it. 253-263-1540, 253-263. Turns out I'm not worried about anything. I feel pretty good about it all, quite frankly. If TikTok goes away, so be it. C'est la vie. But we're embarking on this next chapter. And I just think the gamification, hanging out and doing those silly things like Will It Float, which is an old Letterman bit. It's fun. It's silly. And just having a good time. That's it. It's very, very simple. And I have to give it up to Ellis because Ellis is just like the epitome of that. Like Ellis is just like a roller coaster. I pick anytime, like Leah said this to me the other day. She's like, wow, anytime you just like, you didn't know what to do, you just called Ellis. I'm like, that's right. You just call Ellis and then you pause. And then you see what comes out of the Ellis machine. Thank you, Jamie. I love non-business Royce. Thank you, Jamie. 76 degrees inside my room here. Staring at a wall. So I have to give credit where credit is due because, a huge chunk of that was Ellis. Like I couldn't. There were times there I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm calling Ellis. Just calling Ellis. The lottery machine, like the ping pong balls that bubble up in the lottery machine. That's to me, that's Ellis. And you just don't know what's going to pop up. It's like non sequiturs. It's a whole bunch of non sequiturs written on ping pong balls, bouncing around in a machine. One pops up. Let's go. I'll run with that. Cool. Ellis knows all. Ellis is the gift that keeps on giving. And he just cracks me up. So, bravo to Ellis. Bravo to Ellis. I can't say that enough. I really can't. And I talked to him like off the air and he's just like giggling. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm laughing. And I'm like, there's no audience here. Like I'll just call Ellis like during those breaks, when you were watching the printer and I would just call Ellis and he would just pick up the phone and just start giggling. And I was delirious. So I would just start giggling. And then it was like, there's no audience. This is discourse. So anyway, it's been a real learning experience, and the positivity from Eric and Amber and Cedar Couple and Sharif has just been the positive energy. It's so contagious and it translates. And I can tell you as somebody in their 40s, how angry I was in my 20s and how being in this world with you and having these experiences with you isn't just so much fun, but it's growth. It's growth. And I feel like we're hitting a stride together. And I really do love this format for that. So make sure you call in 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. So that's what I learned. Has anybody seen the new theme song to Superman? Yes, I'm switching gears. I woke up this morning and in my feed is the theme song to Superman. Okay? And I'm like, okay, it says it's inspired by John Williams' theme. So then I clicked it, and there wasn't music. It was just noise. It was like they took the Superman theme and played it in a wind tunnel, and I can't hear it because the wind is stretching all of the music. It just sounds like the Superman theme is caught in a wind tunnel. Why didn't you just keep the original Superman theme? Why do we have to always think that we can do better than the source material? There is a rule. There is a rule when it comes to working with source material. If you can't elevate the source material, don't touch the source material. Please. Please. If you can't elevate the source material, don't touch the source material. I've been saying this my entire life. Whether you're remaking a motion picture or you're trying to update a theme park, if you can't elevate the source material, don't do it. Why are we trying to make a theme song like the Superman theme better? Either create a brand new song from scratch or work with what you got. But your little wind tunnel redux doesn't cut it, Jimmy. I don't like the director of Superman at all. Jimmy. 253-263-1540. Did you hear the theme song? Did you know what I'm talking about? You know how like in Superman the theme song is like, "Dah," like it's real big and it's epic? This was just like, it's just like a long, inaudible groan. Like, what you couldn't get, what's his name? Michael Giannacco, who is like the next John Williams, however you say his last name, that name's even too Italian for me to pronounce. You couldn't get that guy. He wasn't available. He won't take your calls because he knows what you're all about. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. And the movie, the movie, I mean, all signs point to no. All signs point to no. And I don't believe that said filmmaker has the maturity or the ability to write a Superman movie for the audience that wants a Superman movie. I think we're going to get a cartoon Superman movie. Now, I don't really care in the grand scheme of things, but I'm doing a radio show, so I got to fill air, Salita. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm going to rant about James Gunn and Superman and how I think that James Gunn is a horrible writer and filmmaker. And this is going to be his absolute flop that gets him booted with Peter Safran from running the DC universe. You know, it's amazing. Marvel has had success and failure and success again. DC can't figure it out. You have Batman and Superman. You don't know what to do with Batman and Superman? Does anybody remember when the first Iron Man movie came out? The first Iron Man movie didn't even have a script. The first Iron Man movie was heavily improvised off of basically an outline. Okay? It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm. They took a risk and it paid dividends to the point of them oversaturating the market with Marvel. But when Iron Man came out, Iron Man was an ancillary character. Nobody knew anything about Iron Man. In fact, the artwork from the comics made him look rather clunky. The movie blew Iron Man out of the water. I mean, the movie made Iron Man more popular than Superman. You don't need to, you know what I'm saying? I see your comment. You don't need to break that. You know? So, look, I still haven't seen Wicked. So the prospects of me seeing Superman in the theaters were already dim, but if you factor in reality, I'm not going to see this movie ever. But the theme song, that is not a theme song. There's no notes. It's one key. You know, if you just put your finger down on the keyboard, you put your finger down on the piano, and then you just let the key go until the tone runs out. You know, basically the theme song of Superman is a tuning fork. That's what they did. James Gunn put out a tuning fork as the theme song to Superman. Go listen to it. What is going on over there? Superman's story's pretty incredible. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. I looked over and Ashley's like, his story's pretty incredible. I'm like, Superman's story? Yeah, boy, from Krypton to Super, yeah, yes, Robert Downey Jr.'s story is quite remarkable, actually. And you want to know what's kind of cool? Here's what's kind of cool. And I love the movie The Zodiac. Go watch that and be like, oh my gosh, the Iron Man and Hulk, they're in a movie together. Robert Downey Jr. is an incredibly, incredibly talented actor. But it's an interesting story to look at because even with the success of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. couldn't open a movie like The Judge. You remember Iron Man put him back on the map, and him and his wife Susan Downey tried to produce their own movie. They tried to launch movies, even like the Dr. Dolittle. He couldn't do it. It kind of goes back to that simplicity is key because what people wanted was Iron Man. And he was making enough money off of Iron Man, even though I understood the need to want to now do more things because he wants to fulfill that side of him. You know, you do sort of have to meet in the middle there. And now he's going to go back to doing it again. He's getting a grip of money to play Dr. Doom. But in many ways, he deserves it because he came through all of that adversity. And that Robert Downey Jr. story is really, really remarkable. But all of that to say that this Superman movie to me just looks so like, and then they put the dog in it, Crypto or whatever, and I'm just like, oh my God, the dog is going to be like Ted. It's going to be like the movie Ted, and the dog is going to say really, really ridiculous, inappropriate things. I just know it. This is the guy that made Scrappy Doo a villain. You don't make Scrappy Doo's not a villain. So I saw, that's all. I woke up. I'm like, oh, we're going to do the radio show. Let me scroll. Let me pick up a couple little tidbits. Oh, that's something to complain about. Okay, that's an easy complaint. I can rant about James Gunn being a horrible writer and filmmaker for 10 minutes. I can knock out 10 minutes complaining about James Gunn. But it's the truth because the theme song is abysmal. Go listen to it. If you can't elevate the source material, there is no reason to touch it. That's all. That's how I feel. And again, if you want to transpose that into the parks, there's no reason to get rid of a Splash Mountain when you have enough land to give Tiana a ride that she deserves. Like Tiana's Bayou Adventure could have been on the level of Rapunzel's Lantern Festival in Tokyo. That ride is stunning. It's short, but it's gorgeous and immersive. You know? So you could have had a real Bayou Adventure. You want me to play the theme song of Superman? The reason I won't do that, Heather, is because more than likely that will affect the podcast upload in the future with copyright issues. So you have to be cognizant of those things. And even on the YouTube side, you can't retransmit copyright material and without having some sort of impact on the file upload. So I would do it, like my impulse is to play it even under the context of fair use. But I'm afraid that might trigger something. Because under fair use, I could get away with a snippet, but I hesitate, particularly on the podcast side of that. But go listen to it. Now you got to go look it up, and you're gonna be like, ugh, you made me waste my time. Go, Heather, go look it up and call in. All right, Heather's going to go listen to the Superman theme song and call in, and we're going to see. And you do the same thing. 253-263-154. She's like, I am? She's like, my phone's not even charged. 253-263-1540. James Gunn posted it on his Instagram feed. But it just sounds like, it's like, that's it. It just sounds like a dying fire truck. New York, I'm going back to New York because, and I don't mean literally, although I may, but I'm going back to New York conversationally because of that call from Vinny. And Yoey told me that he tried to find the toy that Vinny was talking about. And I'm like, oh my God, I want one too. And Nick had like taken me there, you know, and then gone back and went down a rabbit hole of pictures of the World's Fair. So I had seen that tire image for the first time the night before Vinny called in. I had never seen that image of that, not tire swing, excuse me. It's a Ferris wheel. And I had never seen that image. I didn't even know that was a thing. For all of the imagery of the World's Fair that I've absorbed over the years. And then Vinny called in. I was like, oh my gosh. And I really, really, really want to figure out, how do we do that again? Like, how do we launch a World's Fair? Like, I don't know. Can TikTok sponsor that if TikTok's around? Like, can one of these companies, can Apple sponsor it? These tech companies have the money. You would make the money back tenfold. Like, can somebody start off a World's Fair? It would be amazing to bring back the World's Fair in New York. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And like I said when we were talking to Vinny, the idea of bringing people together in the same place at the same time, those moments are few and far between. People are so isolated. You know, it's very easy to jump in on a live stream, drop a snarky comment, okay, and run back into your corner because you don't have the guts to pick up the phone and talk like an individual, okay, because you're afraid of possibly not being able to articulate your thoughts, right? But for those who actually can articulate their thoughts, it's an opportunity for conversation, much like bringing people into the same space and time to be inspired by different things. It would breed common ground. It would breed common ground. Having every state represented in a World's Fair environment would breed common ground. Maybe that's just me being completely like wishful and hopeful, but I think there's some real value in bringing people together for something of that magnitude. You look at, and I think I mentioned this just during the last few days when we were just sitting out hanging out talking, or maybe I talked to Kenzie about it, but water cooler television used to be a big thing. So you go into work the next day and everybody had watched Seinfeld, so everybody's talking about what happened last night on Seinfeld. And everybody, even if you didn't know that person in the office, you were now having a conversation about something, albeit surface level, it was entertainment, right? So now, Patty, there's a connection there. There's a connection. And you don't have that anymore. You might see the same thing that I see on social media, but the comments don't go back and forth. There's people yelling at each other. You know, so there's not a lot of event. You know, one of the reasons I really enjoy the live streaming is the live aspect. It's what's going on right now. We're all in the same moment right now, having a shared experience. So what was cool about water cooler television, which no longer exists, is that everybody saw the Sopranos finale, even if you didn't watch the show. So everybody the next morning is talking about the Sopranos finale. And now everybody feels like they have something to relate to. I don't know anything about you, but you watch that show. Now I can have a conversation with you. So even if it is surface level, it becomes the jumping off point to be comfortable to engage with strangers. And by strangers, I mean the person that works next to you in your office, not a stranger on the street. So I love the idea of some big grand event like that would inspire not just innovation through new products and new technologies, but also bring cultures together and cross-pollinate ideas. Am I missing something? Why can't we have this? Why can't we have this? I don't think it's a big ask. I think it would be amazing. And there's so many people that have said, oh, I went to the World's Fair. I remember being a kid and going to the World's Fair. I've heard in the comments, I've gotten messages. So I know that it had an impact. And I just wonder what it could do today. When you look at how divided we are, when you look at how people are so willing to stay in their corners, it's so much easier to drop a comment on social media and crawl back into your corner than it is to have a real conversation or get out of your bubble, get out of your house, and go engage. The internet has built a generation of keyboard warriors. People are very comfortable saying what they want to say through text. They'll never say it to your face, and they'll never pick up the phone. And you know what I mean? And so what has that done is it's made people feel very, very comfortable and secure in their bubble. My phone lines are open. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. You could pick up the phone right now and call me and say, what's wrong with you? I'm not holding, I mean, like, it's one of those things where I think too much access to information, the spread of information too fast has actually, despite being technically connected, has made us so disconnected. Because now, if your interest, and I'm just making up something by looking at the ground, if your interest is unopened wishables sitting on the living room floor for 6 weeks without being picked up, there's probably a Reddit thread. Right? So now you can go find your people and you can stay right there with them and never find out what it's like to open a wishable. By the way, that's the best I could come up with on the fly because I'm looking over there. I don't see any calls on the board, Heather. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I don't have any calls on the board. Hey now. But that's my point. So with all of this access to information, with all of this connectivity, we're actually more divided than ever because there's something for everyone. That fragmentation has pulled us apart. Yeah, I don't see anything, Heather. Good morning, Ellis. Good morning, Danielle. You're on the air. Who's this?
It's Danny. Hey, Rose.
What?
It's Danny.
Oh my gosh, are you okay?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. This delay is crazy.
You know what? I know what I'm doing wrong. Let me get rid of it. Hold on.
All right. Yeah. It's like an 18-minute delay. I don't know why I didn't see the phone calls. I just refreshed the iPad, and there's all these calls in the queue. Good morning. 253-263. Wait, hold on. 253-263-1540. Danny, you're on the air.
So you talked about so much in the time that I was listening to you while I was on hold that I was like, now I have like a ton of thoughts on everything you said, but that wasn't the reason why I called in. I just wanted to say, almost anecdotally, in reference to this whole weekend, and I think what most of us witnessed during Live Fest, going back to when I first started, when I caught you on TikTok, which was early summer. So I'm going on 6 months right now. And I think we all know that there's a ton of Disney creators, people that live stream from the park. There's a ton of them. But they would always come up on my feed. But yours is the one that I always lingered on at the beginning. And when you mentioned how you talked to your rep and they talked about the metrics and how it seemed like you had an above average viewing time. And, you know, I realized that, especially this weekend, and I think I might have mentioned it once, I don't know, months ago on one of the lives. It was when you were talking about, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. Should I go, to Disney Springs or should I walk through the resorts? And it was a lot of discussion about whether or not being in the park, if you weren't in the park, people weren't going to view. And a lot of people said, well, we're just here for you, not necessarily because you're in the parks, even though we're all, we have the commonality of being Disney fans. And that's probably initially what drew us into the content. It was specifically you and your personality, your knowledge, the way you were. And even though most of the time we never saw your face, that's what drew us in. So now that you've shifted and kind of have your fingers in different places, with the podcast and the radio show, and particularly this weekend where a lot of people got to see you and your face for hours on end, that just proves that, at least for the people that are, like your core audience, you are the draw. Disney provided a commonality for all of us, but you are what kept us coming back. So whether you're on TikTok and we see your face and you're doing a radio show, or it goes away and we only see you on YouTube, or you want to live stream there or just do radio shows and podcasts, I don't think it's going to ultimately make that much of a difference in that. I mean, that's just what I felt from everyone talking in the chat over the course of the weekend, was that, we were happy to just see you balance. Well, maybe not me, because I wasn't happy to see you balancing on a board. I was anxiety ridden, really, but just, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that was personal for you. That was personal for you.
It was personal.
How is your foot?
But I was happy to see you. I was happy to see you just be you in whatever funny part or mundane part or whatever it was. And I think that that's why when you have somebody like a Joe Rogan, for example, that has such an amazing audience, the draw is always going to be the person and how they handle themselves and how they talk about things, even things that we may like or we don't like. It's just the way that you present it and you give people opportunities to share in that. So, I say continue. I know you are, but, I think that you will be very surprised by the results that you'll get, no matter what ends up happening out of all of this.
Well, that is very sweet. Definitely not having an allergic reaction. The comments right now, I'm seeing names in the comments from folks that have been watching me for years who maybe commented in the beginning, and then there was a period where I didn't even know that they were still watching. And I think that there's been this shift where now there are, I don't like the word old, but there are OG viewers and there are some newer viewers that are now active in the chat together in a way that they didn't there was no oxygen for it before. And I don't know exactly why, but I love seeing some of the OGs being more active now. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was printing stuff for Danny, not you, Danny, but the other Danny, which that phrase I don't like, the other Danny. But there's somebody else with your name. I don't know if you're aware of this. And
yes, I am.
She's been watching from like day one. And she doesn't comment, She's probably commented more in the last 4 days than she commented in the last year. And it's so refreshing. And it's like, oh my God, you're still here. You know what I mean?
I think being a new view, let's say I'm a newer viewer, okay, since I only started like 6 months ago. But I noticed in the chat during the live stream what you were mentioning. I could tell that there were people in there that were definitely viewers from at least probably the very beginning or an extended period of time. But sometimes the chat while you're live streaming in the park can get overwhelming. And I think a lot of people just kind of step back and don't necessarily, they're listening to you. I'm sure they're streaming you like on TikTok all day. They probably have you in the background and watching you. I know I do. Even when I'm doing things around the house, I can still hear your voice like reverberating through my home. So I'm watching and I'm giving you the viewing time. But sometimes I step away from the chat, not now recently, but in the past.
Right.
Because I could tell that sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. And I'm not just the usual trolls that'll jump in and say stupid things, but sometimes people can get heated in their opinions about whatever topic is being discussed in the chat or what you're talking about. And then some people are like, you know what? Either what I'm saying is getting lost in the chat because of the speed of it, or I'm saying something and somebody's like jumping down my throat, and I'm here for Royce. I'm not really here for the drama. So, go step back.
But you know what, for me,
some of us,
it's so funny to hear your perspective, because for me, the one thing that, and I don't mind like the repetition of the time and the temperature. Like that's fine, right? Even, in old school radio, you would do at top of the hour, you do your time, your temperature, right? So I don't mind repetition. But the same jokes in the chat on the same ride for 4 years, I'm like, it's not funny anymore. Like every time you go on Pirates and someone's like, what did we do to poor Will? I'm like, okay, yeah, every once in a while. Okay, that joke was funny like the first 22,000 times. But it's like, it's just like even those little moments for me where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a rerun. And I want a fresh episode.
Yeah. And I think that happens a lot of times when you get new people coming in. They're like, oh wow, this is a group of people like, I have commonality with. And they'll get in there and, maybe they feel welcome, then they start talking about things, but then everybody else has been in the chat for months or years. I'm like, oh God, not this again. That kind of.
But I know my audience well everywhere. Because I looked over after I said what I just said to you, and Ashley's Bailey comment hit right on cue. So I know my audience because I knew that comment was coming from her after I made that Pirates comment, because she says that every time. I appreciate you so much. I really do. And I hope your recovery is going well.
It's going well. Everything is fine. But you know what? The fact I was supposed to be in Disney this Friday.
Really?
It was been planning this trip for, oh my God, almost a year to spend Christmas in Disney World. And, we were just doing our final things, getting everything ready, and that happened. So the trip is postponed indefinitely until I can get through with this. But it gave me an opportunity to just kind of sit and reflect and watch you for a good chunk of time, which I don't regret. It was a great weekend, and you definitely took my mind off of everything that's going on, and the physical pain kind of faded into the background because I could focus on what you were doing. Right. And everybody, I really enjoyed everybody's, like, that sense of everybody just kind of coming together. I didn't sense any negativity at all. And sometimes, like on the live streams, there were certain moments that I could see that, and not this time. Everybody was just kind of like pulling for you and wanting to help. And I mean, I have a competitive streak like no one else. So if I'm up for a challenge like that, I will do everything that I can to help. You're certainly deserving of it. I mean, I've seen plenty of creators on this app that are just, I don't know. I wouldn't want to comment too much. I'll say too much, but you are
she messaged me privately.
Top tier.
You're sweet. Listen, all I just heard you say is that you were in writhing pain all weekend, and the only way to get through it was to watch something more painful. But that's just how I interpreted what you said.
But that's because you have that underlying sarcasm that you're going to be self-deprecating. It was not that you were more painful to watch. No. It was, you know what I felt like? It felt like a 3-day Seinfeld episode that I was somehow participating in. Maybe like as the audience or whatever, or like, like a side character every once in a while saying something. But it was just that there were great nuggets of funny things, but it was like a whole lot of crazy stuff that really maybe wasn't about nothing, but
literally nothing.
It was but it was a showcase for you.
Oh, so fun.
Whether you can see it that way or not, I felt it was that.
No, I do. I'm just teasing because the joke, you set me up for the joke, so I have to take the joke even at my own expense. But I'm just wired that way. I was like, that was just it was obvious. And you know, were you on last night for the pizza or did you miss that?
I was on for the pizza and you having to run after the guy. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't write that, and that only happened because we were just hanging out. But then I'm like, is this guy watching the stream and just messing with me? Because I came out the front door and he started driving away, and I'm in the spotlight waving. And if you were a lost delivery driver and you were looking around and you saw a man waving, wouldn't you maybe go, oh, maybe he found me? And he just sped off.
If I can tell you how I ended up with this injury, that's like a Seinfeld episode.
Were you chasing after a delivery driver? It's relatable.
I got home from running an errand and I was at my front door and an Uber driver pulls up into my driveway. He's lost. Okay. And he gets out of his car and walks up my steps of my porch. And he's like, I'm here for your ride. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't ask for a ride. I didn't book a ride. But he's insisting. And, you know, he's walking between my porch and the car. And I'm uneasy because it's a man. I'm a woman. I'm at my front door. I don't know what's going to happen. My kids are in the house, you know. And I was like, I at least wanted to close the door so that if something were to happen, he couldn't gain entrance into my home. I thought maybe he was just full of it and wasn't even an Uber driver, even though he had that little thing on his car. So I closed my door and he's at his car. He comes back again to continue this ridiculous conversation. And I wasn't paying attention because I just wanted him to leave. I stepped down on my porch. First step, my foot goes one way. I went the other way.
Wait a second. First of all, that's horrible. But wait a second. The Uber driver gets out of the car to get you into the Uber?
He walks up because he just sees me standing there. I guess he was like, hey, lady, you booked a ride. Can you just come to the car?
Wait, he's Jerry Lewis? Hey, lady, your Uber's here. Okay, anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
And you know, well, he was speaking, this is Miami. Everybody speaks Spanish here. And I'm talking to him and I'm just saying, language. I didn't book a ride, whatever. And he's like, but someone booked a ride here. I'm like, I live on a main road. A lot of people literally just stand in front of my home and use my address as a pickup point. But I didn't see anyone out in the street. And I said, I didn't book a ride. Thank you so much. Can you please get out of my driveway, my home, you know, whatever it was.
But the dedication,
so but when it happened, like when I stepped and I thank God held onto the rail. If not, I would have gone head first. And I land on my butt. And when I tell you I had the gnarliest fracture that you could ever see aside from having a bone poking out of your skin, it was a total dislocation. My body was one way and my foot was pointing perpendicular.
And where was he? Was he gone or was he there?
No, he's standing right there. At this point, I now am screaming in pain. My kids come out of the house and they're like, what's going on? They look down at my foot. Immediately they get on the phone, call 911. This man is still in my driveway with his phone in his hand. He's asking me, should I cancel your trip? I swear.
Well, I mean,
those were his words.
It's priorities.
I literally I have tears streaming down my face, and that's what this man is asking me. And I said, what trip? I never booked one, you idiot.
Listen,
And then he says, can I take you to the hospital?
Yeah, how much?
I'm like, can you get out of here?
Please leave.
I'm sure an ambulance is about to get here. Can you leave? And then he walks up to my foot and he goes to touch it, like to assess it. I don't know if he's moonlighting as an Uber driver.
He's an Uber doctor
he's an
now?
orthopedic surgeon. And I'm like, don't touch it.
Oh my God.
I'm literally losing my mind at this point.
Oh,
and I said,
no.
I'm going to leave right now.
I'm not
kidding because my next call.
But where's the person? where's the person who's supposed to be getting this ride? Are they standing outside watching all this, waiting? That's my Uber.
There's nobody there. I don't know what this man was doing.
Let me tell you something.
So he finally leaves as the ambulance gets there, and I'm just like, I said it to the guy in the paramedics. He's like, who's that? I go, I don't know, an idiot that just caused me to fall and break my ankle. But in the ambulance, I said, I swear I'm living a Seinfeld episode.
Okay, first of all, you need to sue Uber. No, number one. And number two, my DoorDasher and your Uber driver need to change jobs, okay? Because if I would have had a DoorDasher with that kind of commitment, I would have had my munchkins, number one. And if you would have had an Uber driver with the lackadaisical attitude that my DoorDasher had, your ankle would be fine.
Exactly. But see, life is full. It's just full of these little moments where you're kind of like, this makes no sense.
You want me to
and
cancel
that's
the
what's
trip?
funny about it.
You want me to cancel? Yeah, cancel the trip. Get out of here. There's no trip. I just tripped. There is no.
What trip?
You can't cancel that trip.
Walk. I couldn't even stand up.
Oh my God! I'm so sorry.
I could. And I'm telling this story to my husband hours later when he shows up in the emergency room and I'm doped up and he's like, how did this happen to you? And when I said that story to him, with the nurse in the background listening, he's just looking at me and he goes, are you okay? Like, are the medications affecting you? I said, no, I'm being serious.
Yeah, well, even right now, I'm like, this is wild. Like, so just to review, the Uber there's a phantom Uber order because we don't know where this Uber, oh my God, I can't even say it. The Uber order came from. And then he doesn't leave. No.
The commitment was there.
But somebody's waiting for a ride this entire time. Like, is he on the back side of the house by accident? Like, where is he? Do you want me to? I
just kept on thinking, what did this man do after he left my house? Did he find the ride? Did the person get in? And did he, like, regale them with this tale of, oh my God, you should have just seen what happened to this lady. I thought I was picking up. She broke her ankle while she was talking to me. I just, you know what I mean? And I just say, this is the only stuff that happens to me, but I know it happens to everybody.
No, because I totally forgot about this story, but I jumped in an Uber once. I was in a rush to get to the airport, and I jump in the Uber, and the guy goes, where are we going? And I'm like, what? Because you order the ride, right? Like, he's supposed to know where we're going. And I go, we're going to the airport. He goes, how do we get there? I go, you don't know how to get to the airport? He goes, well, this is my first ride on Uber ever, and I just want to make sure I get paid. And I was like, sir, I'm not here to train you. I'm trying to catch a flight. So, yeah. I mean, not as bad as your story, but Uber's just hiring anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I felt bad for him, but I felt more bad for myself.
Yeah, why would you feel bad for him? I feel bad for your ankle. No, you need to sue Uber and call us back. I'm going to keep moving. Danny, you're amazing. I got like 3 or 4 phone calls to get to.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for everything.
All right. No problem.
Take care. And feel better. Oh, my gosh. What a wild story. Hold on. You're on the air. Who's this? Oops, I think I just dropped that call. What a wild story. Yeah, the smartphone, the whole entire thing is I booked a ride and it tells you where we're going. I jump in an Uber and you tell me. Sorry, whoever I just hung up on, you got to call back. The phone system's being weird today. But I jump in an Uber and go, where are we going? Why don't you tell me where we're going? I just got a message from Leah that I was asking about the bots in Fortnite. And by the way, this is on my list to talk about anyway. I finally did the Fortnite refund. So if you have a kid or you yourself play Fortnite, there is a class action lawsuit settlement and you can get something like $110 or up to $115, whatever it is, back from Epic Games. So I filled out the form and I said, just go Google Fortnite refund. It's on the FTC website. It did not accept my username. It accepted other usernames, but it didn't accept my actual one. So it gave me an email prompt, But go check it out because there is a class action lawsuit settlement for Fortnite. And Leah just kind of messaged me because I was asking the other day, hey, when I was reading up on that, I stumbled across this sort of pseudo controversy about the bots in Fortnite. And she just gave me clarity on that. Not that anyone's going to really care about why they added bots on Fortnite, but it does remind me that Fortnite refund is available, and that was on my list to bring up today. The Fortnite refund. So if you have a kid, what happened was Epic got sued because they were tricking kids into approving microtransactions without parental permission. And because they were doing that, they got sued, and now the payout's over $100 per person. (253-263-1540). I don't know why the phone lines are giving me such a hard time today. 253-263-1540. And I'm also noticing an issue with my cell phones. I don't know if I have a networking issue or what I'm battling today. But I can clearly see I'm having a problem. Okay, you're on the air. Who's this? Sorry, I tried to fix that. You're on the air. Who's this?
Yeah, it's Heather. Hey.
Oh, wow. Whoa. First of all, that was very New York of you. Oh, yeah, it's Heather. Hey. What's up?
Hey, I'm calling in. I listened to Superman. It's crap.
Can you not say that when I'm drinking coffee?
Yeah.
Why
Sorry.
am I home? I live here. I'm home because I live here.
No, I said.
Sorry, I was answering something.
I said it's crap.
Yeah, it's not even. There's not even like music in it. It's just noise.
No, there's music in it. I don't know what version you heard. I got the nostalgic version.
No, wait. You're listening to the new one or the old one?
I got a new one. It came out a day ago.
Right. And you said it's crap.
But I heard a nostalgic version of the old Superman in the background. But it was like, yeah, I get what you're saying, like the tunnel and the.
Yeah, no. Like they took they took the theme song and like just buried it with a bunch of noise.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're trying to make it nostalgic, like you're thinking about it in the past. I get it.
But
I get what they're trying to do.
How does that make sense?
I don't know because I haven't seen the new movie.
By the way, if you're just tuning in, I'm home because I live here. I'm home because I live here. So I don't know how you feel about like. You know, growing up for me, Heather, Superman was the movie that you weren't supposed to make. Remember, for the longest time, there was the curse. There was the Reeve and the Reeves curse, right? Was it George Reeve and Christopher Reeves?
Yeah.
So there was always the curse. And for the longest time, they would not make a Superman movie. Hollywood wouldn't touch it. And it wasn't until, I think it was Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. Is that the first Superman movie since Christopher Reeves?
Oh, you want me to remember the sequence? I don't know.
I'm talking out loud. So I believe that was the Bryan Singer movie was the first Superman movie we got in, I don't know, decades. But the idea was don't touch Superman, Superman's cursed, and then somewhere we lost that edict. And I just feel like after the Donner Superman movies, you're never gonna, I mean, I'm not saying don't make Superman movies because obviously people want, future generations want to be introduced to the characters and that's what you do. That's the movie business. But the Donner Superman movies are legendary. How are you going to top that? You certainly are going to top it by burying the audio, burying the theme song.
Right. But I get what they're trying to do. I get it.
But then why not just release the original song and just have somebody else re-score it? I mean, you could elevate it just by doing in other words, I don't consider that an arrangement, do you? Like, that's not a rearrangement.
No, it's not a rearrangement. It's a stereotypical way of making it sound nostalgic. It's been used over and over again.
Right, but it's like, it just sounds like it's being played on a worn down tape.
Yeah. Yep.
That's nostalgia?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, remember back when you were a kid?
I remember.
They had this great theme song.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were actually, never mind. I'm just kidding. So look, I get the idea, but I think if this is what you think is like your best introduction to what this movie is going to be, then no, it ain't going to be good. Like, I'm sorry. You already know I'm biased because I think that the guy's a terrible filmmaker. But if even the Guardians of the Galaxy sensibility, that worked for Guardians even at its worst. But applying that sensibility to Superman and making Superman sort of frat humor-esque is not going to work.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what they did, so we'll have to see how it goes. I don't know if you're ever going to see it, but
No, you'll see it and tell me. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. By the way, I loved this weekend.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
I would do this weekend. It was just fantastic.
It was a lot of fun.
You're absolutely right. And watching you face the car.
Yeah.
Top quality.
Well, you didn't even get to see it. I just kept opening the door to shout back to the live play-by-play because, look, I'm in Florida, right? So I don't leave my front door open because anyone who lives in Florida knows there's lizards everywhere, right? So I close my front doors like an airlock, okay? It's like Outbreak over here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? I got a door and one close, it's like Get Smart. Remember Get Smart? Don Adams going through all the doors?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me leaving my house, okay? So once I get past the airlock, but no, so I close the front door behind me because I don't want to let in friends. So I'm like, I got to also communicate to the live what's going on. So I'm like, open up. Can you imagine what kind of a lunatic I looked like to anybody watching, including this driver, Heather? I keep shouting back into my house. Probably thinks I'm getting yelled at by my wife.
What was wrong with the driver?
Did
he have an excuse for just driving by?
No. And he tried to give me the wrong order first. He had no excuse. I just said, busy night? Yeah. All right. Good chat, bro. I mean, I may have said, oh, you just speeding away. I said, I saw you driving around looking. Okay. I thought I'd come out and help is what I said.
I mean, I'd say that you should never order from them again, but then we all saw how much pepperoni they gave you. So I don't know.
But that would insinuate that they knew ahead of time that, well, they did know it was delayed because it was sitting there. So what did they throw pepperoni on at the last minute? Look, I'm just one of these people. Like, I never used to DoorDash. That's a pizza delivery, so that's different, right? But I used to be, like, pre-pandemic, we're talking about Uber. I was, like, I never Ubered. DoorDash, none of this stuff. DoorDash, Postmates, none of this stuff. And I don't like it. I only started Ubering when I moved here. I didn't have a car. So I was streaming the parks. I would Uber to the parks to go to work every day, if you will. But then I got a car. And I'll Uber to the airport because I don't like parking at the airport. I don't like parking garages. The last thing I want to do when I get off of a long flight is have to play Where's My Car? You know? And even with an air tag, right. I don't want to deal with traversing a parking garage, all that stuff. So I like the convenience, time versus money thing. But I don't like door dashing. And the other night, I did it. Not even the other night on the live. Like a week and a half ago, I did it because I was hungry, which is generally why you order food. And I regretted it instantly because they messed up my order and they had to give me a credit because they didn't bring me everything. And I'm like, do you not check the food before you grab the food? So the other night, we're doing this marathon, and yes, it was a blast. I got to figure out why this phone
They don't check the food. First off, it's usually sealed. Isn't it a sealed bag?
Yeah, but I ordered the Dunkin' the other night, and he didn't bring me the Munchkins, which would have been in a second bag. And he didn't ring the doorbell. That's what I don't understand. Danny's got an Uber driver. I once got an Uber driver who left me at the airport, literally called me yelling at me, stop playing games because I was on level 2 and he was on level 1 and the dots looked like we were where we're supposed to be, but he couldn't find me. I'm like, I'm not playing games. She's got an Uber driver that is so committed to the job that he got out of the car. I've never seen an Uber driver get out of the car but for opening the trunk. My DoorDasher dropped it, didn't even ring the doorbell. Figured this lunatic's looking at his screen anyway. I'm just dropping it. Didn't ring the doorbell, didn't drop off half the order. So I would say that DoorDash probably has less than a 50% success rate for me. And I'm curious, do other people have these experiences? Because, one of the things Kenzie, and forgive me, and then I'll let you speak. I apologize. I'm just on a rant. But one of the things that Kenzie and I talked about on the podcast a few weeks back was the fact, and I think it was kind of on the heels of the Netflix fight, was how, like, the consumer has now been conditioned to accept mediocre services but still pay full price. Whether it's the airlines not functioning properly, being stuck on the tarmac for 2 hours, whatever it is. So I'm curious. I mean, is everybody out there having problems with DoorDash, but nobody's really communicating or getting anything done about it? And their whole business is predicated on, we incur the problems. It's the cost of doing business. And as long as the churn rate keeps, evolving, things are going to be okay. But we have a mediocre product and nobody really cares because, hey, we'll refund you and we'll just keep the illusion moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I use them like 2 or 3 times a week. They drive me nuts. Absolutely nuts. But I have no choice. I can't drive right now. So I have a lovely car sitting in my driveway. I would say I get pretty good service 2 out of the 3 times. So
not far off. That's 66%.
Right. Yeah.
You like that math?
Yeah.
It's impressive, right?
Yeah. Excellent.
You want to know how I got there?
So impressive. Wow.
You see what I did is I started with 100. Anyway. Yeah. No, stop, Heather. It's like talking to another theater kid. So I just wonder, I wonder how you can actually like affect change on that. How, there's DoorDash, there's Uber owns Uber Eats, they own Postmates, right? So like there's only so many of these companies left, but I just wonder like if that's the whole industry, if there's a way for somebody to do better and outperform. One of the early things I loved about Amazon was their return policy. If they messed up, they would take the hit because they didn't care. They wanted market cap. Amazon was all about growing. Amazon didn't care if they were losing money. That's the tech mentality. There's a phrase called pre-revenue. Right. If you watch Shark Tank, the phrase pre-revenue. It's a fancy way of saying we ain't made nothing, which is a double negative.
Well, for me, it's a whole different story. I can't get out. I can't fix the orders. And they only give you credit. They only give you credit.
No, they'll give you a refund.
If you ordered your dinner and that's all you have to eat, they don't care.
They'll give you a refund. What I've noticed is depending on how you actually file the complaint on the app yields different results. So I'll go so far down and then I'll back out. And I'll experiment with the way to do it and then find the best offer. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I always get a refund. That's no problem. The refund's no problem.
But you just said they only give you a credit.
Right. But where's okay, so listen, I'm disabled, right? I can't get my own food. So when they don't bring me the product that I've ordered and it's my dinner,
right,
I go without dinner unless I want to order again and have to pay the extra fee.
No, see, this is what they should be doing, and they don't do it. And this is my real issue with this because this is what happened to me a couple weeks ago. It's like, so you're refunding me, whether you're giving me a credit or a refund, that's a different conversation. But I still did get my food. So now I got to reorder and pay fees again. So in other words, now you're costing me time, money, and I still haven't eaten.
Right. That's my point.
Old customer service would have been like, here's your refund. The food is on the way. But you know what? They probably are screwing up so much they can't afford to do that.
There's not a lot of drivers over on my section in my area. So I think we have Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, and that's it.
See, Kelstar.
And,
that's what, but this is what I'm talking about. We've gotten to this thing with this gig economy where now think about this. Your whole life, Heather, and I'm assuming, okay, we were taught as kids not to get in the car with strangers. Now you just get in the car with a stranger. Right. We're just assuming Uber did their homework.
Oh, I'm ridiculous about it. When I go to doctors, I take a picture of the screen that they give you with their license plate and everything, and then I send it to a friend or someone who knows me because I'm always nervous. Like, what? I don't know this person.
Right.
I'm getting in some stranger's car.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's interesting to think how much we've, we arbitrarily worry about things like, we worry about TikTok stealing our information. We worry about this, that, and the other. But we give up so much of ourselves willingly without even thinking about it. Those Amazon devices in our house are on all the time. You get in a car with a complete stranger. You try to sell something on Craigslist and then you invite some whack job into your house that wants $1 off the deal so he can walk away feeling like he somehow got one on you. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
No, one time I sold, I'm looking at one right now. Those collapsible bounces for photography, and they also have backdrops and they twist. You know what I'm talking about? And then they fold up into like a round bag.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Even if you don't know what I'm talking about, the theater kid in you knows to play along. So thank you for pretending. So when you twist them, I'm just teasing you, Heather. Just let me go with it. So when you fold them up, you put them in the bag, they zip up it's a backdrop, Heather.
Yeah, I get it. I've seen them. I know what you're talking. I really do.
I know you do. So I'm trying to do radio. So anyway, this is years ago. So these are like a couple $100. So I'm selling it for $50. $50. And what I used to do, and this is a horrible thing to admit, but I'm going to admit it anyway. I always give the whack, when I think it's a wacko, so pretty much any time I would do Craigslist transactions, I'd give them my neighbor's address. You know what I mean? I'd be like, God forbid, at least you're going to the neighbor's house. You know what I mean? God forbid something were to happen. Do it to the neighbor. Leave me alone. So,
and then when you see they're not like a psycho clown killer, you call them over like, wrong address over here.
Much like the pizza delivery guy, once I see that they're lost and confused, that's why I was so comfortable the other night, right? Once I see that they're lost and confused, I just go outside and I'm like, oh, hey, I have fat thumbs. My bad. I'm not joking. I'm being completely serious. So this is years ago. So this guy shows up, and this is why I do this. So I'm selling this backdrop, this collapsible backdrop for $50, and the guy hands me a $50 bill. We're out in an apartment building, so I had to walk down the driveway to find him because he's, going to go to the wrong place. I had to cut him off at the pass before he knocked on the wrong door. My whole MO would have been destroyed. And so I meet him at the end of the driveway, and sorry. I meet him at the end of the driveway, and I go to hand him the backdrop as he hands me the $50, and he goes, you have $1? And I go, yeah, for what? And he goes, I just want to feel like I'm getting a better deal. And I said, you got a great deal already. You're not getting $1 back. Do you want the backdrop? And he goes, yeah, all right. I'm like, this is why I don't want strangers in my house. The guy wanted to save $1 to feel good. I'm like, why don't you just go look under your couch?
I can't believe you'd send people to the wrong address.
Yeah, it's okay.
That is so horrible.
Whatever. My life is Seinfeld. Jerry would do that. Jerry would do it in a heartbeat. That's such a Seinfeld maneuver. Jerry would just be like, it's the deal. I didn't like my neighbor anyway. I got jokes to tell. By the way, I don't sell things on Craigslist anymore, so this is old. Like I used to do this, but I haven't done this in a long time. And you can't do it. Here's the thing, Heather. You can't do it when you're ordering food because the food goes to the wrong house.
Right.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's what happened with my pizza. I slipped back into old habits, and I must have sent the pizza to the wrong door.
Yeah. Why not? It doesn't really matter where you send it because they're going to get it wrong anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're going to send it because you're not getting it anyway. Oftentimes, I just like to DoorDash to random people because it's not going to show up anyway. Right? I said, what's the difference? I'm not going to get the food. Maybe somebody will get lucky and get a free meal. Yeah, I just DoorDash roulette. I just pick a random address and we just let it ride, baby. So if you ever get a random cheeseburger, that's me.
That's you. I'll know. Be like, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the cheeseburger.
You'd be like, this is a double-double from In-N-Out, and I'm in New Jersey. This thing cannot be good. I appreciate you. The weekend was so much fun. I mean, even this conversation here is just absurd, but it was so much fun just hanging out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was a blast. And the delirium that we had at 2:00 in the morning trying to stay awake till 3 was so funny. I'll never forget it. It was well worth staying up.
I just there were just times where I was just like, didn't even know what I was saying, you know, and it's fine.
We know.
Yeah, no, I know. And then I went to the crown auction till I was red in the face.
Yeah.
You know why I really did that was to stay awake.
You'd get those little wins. You'd be like, go, go, go. And I'm like, what are we have nothing. What are you talking about?
What?
You were like, go, we've got this, go. And I'm like, we're like all dead. Trying to root for you, and we're like, we don't know who's coming, but somebody wonderful's coming anytime now. We just know it.
Yeah. And listen, and I had that same enthusiasm counting pepperoni yesterday. I was like, 24 pepperoni, let's go. 25 pepperoni, let's go. 30 pepperoni. It was stupid. It's just whatever.
It was awesome.
You know what? It's just fun to laugh. And it's just like, if you're so miserable that you just don't get the idea of just laughing and being carefree, then what? I can't help you.
Yeah, well, thanks for the laugh. It was awesome.
Thank you. And thank you to Papa John's for not skimping on the pepperoni, because I would have lost that bet. I really didn't think that they were going to go over 24 in the pepperoni. I was just, I was bluffing.
I knew they weren't. There was no way.
What are you talking about? They went over. It was almost 30 pepperoni.
I know, but I'm telling you, beforehand, I knew they weren't. And then,
Huh. But when it comes to will it float, you're not so good, huh?
I'm really not.
No, none of us
I'm
were.
really not.
Apparently all of us need 8th grade science again. I still don't know how will it float. I mean, I know how the bit from Letterman started, but I'm 3D printing something and somebody goes, will it sink? And somebody goes, will it float? And I was like, stand by.
Yeah.
And then for those who don't know the story. What?
That was me. I said, because you were printing that silly little boat that I knew darn well was not going to stay upright at least. Maybe it would float, but it was not going to stay upright.
Right.
And just by the design. And I'm like, that is going to sink like the Titanic. And Anna comes along and she says, no, it's going to float. And I'm like, all right, well.
Right.
And then you just had to test it out.
Right. So then I wake up. That was like a 17-hour day. And then I think I woke up the next morning super early and went to Walmart. I think, unless I went to Walmart at night, but I think it was 8:00 in the morning. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was 8:00 in the morning because it was dead. And I go into Walmart. And I get the fish tank, and I get gravel because I figured, well, visually you need the gravel. It's just going to look like an empty fish tank. So I get the fish tank and the gravel. It was morning. Thank you. And I don't remember. And I'm like, oh, look, a SpongeBob pineapple. My imaginary fish are going to love this. So I got this, I'm like, here I am now building an aquarium. And then this poor woman at the Walmart counter is like, oh, did you get, what kind of fish? Ma'am, there's no fish. What? No, I'm going to fill this fish tank with pop vinyls and durables. Thank you.
Yeah, and I missed most of it. I came in towards the end and I'm like, he doesn't really have a fish tank. What is happening?
Oh, but did I? Oh, and then yesterday, okay, do you remember the Batman Adam West movie? Remember, it was Batman, and it was Burt Ward and Adam West, and then it was Lee Merriweather. Lee Merriweather was Catwoman, and Cesar Romero was the Joker. Burgess Meredith was Penguin. Frank Gorshin was the Riddler, and they were all together. Do you remember this? The movie?
When?
Adam West, the 60s. Batman 67.
Okay, I wasn't around then. I don't know.
I wasn't around then either.
I know, but I never saw the movie. I'm sorry.
You've never seen the old Batman movie? Wait, my brain is fried. Is it 66? It's Batman 66, not 67. Batman 66. Anyway.
Right. That's like 10 years before I was born. I did not see the movie.
It's like many decades before I was born, and I've seen the movie hundreds of times.
I am sorry to disappoint you.
That's fine. It won't be the first time. It won't be the last time, and I'm sure I'll return the favor. So, listen. What I'm trying to say is there's a scene in that movie where Batman has a bomb, and he's running around the docks with a bomb, and everywhere he goes to get rid of this bomb, he can't get rid of the bomb. Okay? And he goes to drop it in the water, but there's ducks in the water. He goes to drop it somewhere else, and there's a marching band. And he runs around and he goes, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. So I'm cleaning up the fish tank the other morning, and I've skimmed out most of the water, and dumped it down the drain. But there's enough water in the fish tank and gravel. Because it's at a certain level, I wasn't going to scoop all the gravel out, because I figured at some point I'll probably put more water in it. We'll play Will It Float again. So I pick up the fish tank now that it's got, it's enough water has been taken out. And I'm like, I got this fish tank in my hands. I hope this thing doesn't just fall apart on me, because it is from Walmart. And I pick it up with no plan in mind of where I'm going to put it down. So after Live Fest, my kitchen counters are already a nightmare just because of everything I have going on. My kitchen counters were covered from the cookies to the deep fryer to prizes being packed to my 3D printer to just all the other stuff. So now I'm in my kitchen holding this fish tank filled with gravel and water and a pineapple under the sea, and there's nowhere to put it. And I just say out loud, you idiot. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. And I didn't know where to put it. Finally, I just took the fish tank and I just used it to shove all of this shit across the counter. And I'm like, nobody's...
No. Oh, no. Is there still water, like a little bit of water in the bottom of it?
Yeah, it's like sloshing back and forth. The pineapple's all cockeyed. It was a mess. The trees are down. Wendy is floating still,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the Wendy. Oh.
Yeah, I'm running around my kitchen like, what am I going to do? And I'm literally like, you're an idiot. Because, like, I used to deliver arcade games, and our rule was always walk it first. Because the one time that I delivered a 10-foot skee-ball machine to somebody's house without knowing where it was going, and she's like, oh, it's going up the side of the house, over these rocks, over this gravel, over the lawn, to the backyard. I'm like, this is a 10-foot skee-ball machine, ma'am. So you learn, walk it first. I thought I had learned. With arcade games, yes. With fish tanks, no. So I'm literally walking around the island counter in my kitchen with this fish tank the other morning. Like, what am I going to do right now? What happens if this fish tank falls apart because it's just glass and glue or silicone? I was like, you're such an idiot. And I'm like, and here I am like yelling at myself out loud. The only person listening is Amazon. Right, so now the NSA has this whole, this is worse than Nick catching me yelling at myself in my sleep. Now Amazon's got a recording somewhere of me yelling at myself with a fish tank running around the kitchen. Shout out to the NSA. Put that on my file.
Enjoy.
Embarrassing. All right, Heather, I gotta do the sponsors really quick, okay?
All right. Have fun.
Talk to you soon. Thank you for the laughs. Feel better.
No problem. Bye.
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 Feel better about ordering DoorDash. That's what I meant to say. Oh, my. Now, if you're ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season, then check out Colleen Herman over at Pampered Chef. She has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. That's Rewind. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And if you're on vacation and the unthinkable happens, injured in an accident, don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most. Call the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. She'll fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. Call now, 305-213-5438 for a free consultation. You don't pay unless they win. Call the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy today, 305-213-5438. Last minute shopping from the parks? Need to package up that impulsive purchase? Go check out my friends at the UPS store located at 6526 Old Brick Road, located right behind the Magic Kingdom. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. The UPS store located at 6526 Old Brick Road. They've also got a notary, copy machines, which I often run once, and even P.O. boxes. So go check them out. And if you're looking to book a trip, William.bailey Travel, William.bailey at academytravel.com for all of your destination planning, whether it's Disney, cruises, or you're just looking to explore a new country. William provides customable experiences at competitive rates. Check out William.bailey Travel, William.bailey at academytravel.com, or go to royces.com, fill out the travel form on my website. We are planning a Tokyo group trip, and we're looking forward to going with you. Now, sometimes we're worried about this life in this moment, and we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate, and legal fights and fees. A will or trust is not just for the Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today to make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love. Send an email to russell@rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment. That's Russell at rklawpro.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors. I appreciate you. Our sponsors are with us through the remainder of the year. Colleen has sent me a box from Pampered Chef. I have to go get that. That's one of the things I need to do today. I'm going to go send out some prizes and go pick that up. I've got some products from the TikTok shop. So I think we're going to have a product/kitchen live in the future. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. Give me a call. Great to talk to Danny and Heather, and I really do. I agree. I mean, look, we've all found our way here from a different place, through different experiences. The channel has been here for almost 4 years. Some folks have been here for all of it. Some folks just showed up the other day. But it is so much fun hanging out with the kind of people that just want to hang out and have fun. And just checking all the nonsense at the door and just having an experience. And I'm learning each and every day with you that is the true value of the time we spend together. And I love it. I think just some of the stuff Heather and I were just chatting about. I mean, I love some of the absurdity of what transpired these last few days. I mean, I now have a fish tank downstairs. There's going to be a day where I'm going to go down there and go, where did my fish go? Like, there's going to be a day where I forget what happened just for a half a second, and I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to be like, oh my God, my fish. And then I'm going to be like, you never had any. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Jeannie Beanie thing. I remember Jeannie's been an amazing supporter for years. And she won a prize, and I'm like, I gotta put a beanie in there, just so like 6 months from now I can say Jeannie and the beanie. And here we are. I've now used that joke 4 times, but still, it was a 6-month proposition for that payout. So I just love the silliness and letting go. And I actually don't ever think I would get fish, because will it float would probably be detrimental to the ecosystem for them. So we'll just keep it as the Will It Float fish tank. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I do have a ton of prizes to send out. I have to finish printing labels and addresses. I'm going to do that this afternoon. I do want to go to the park tonight, but I realize that every time I say I'm going to do something, like that, outside circumstances wind up getting in the way, or just life. And I think at this point, we just pop up and we do whatever we're going to do. You know what I mean? So we're going to do something later, but I definitely need a couple hours to sort a few things out. I still have to go finish my physical. Like, I haven't even done that. So I need a couple hours of just breathing and getting dialed in and focusing, and I got to finish cleaning up downstairs. It's still a mess. I mean, there's a full Kermit the Frog bodysuit just laid across the couch. Okay. There's a Joe Coconut head sitting on the floor down there. And then there's just merchandise everywhere. That wall of Atari video games that everybody got to know has been reduced, but there's still probably 40 of them left. But thankfully, that's only about a third. But I have to, it won't take long, but I have to clean up. I got to get rid of some of the dishes in the sink. I mean, it's just been, I got the oil in the deep fryer. I got to get rid of the oil. I guess I got to pour the oil into some container, let it congeal, and then throw it out. Like, I literally had to read up on what do you do with oil? I don't know. I know you don't put it down the drain. Wait, who's on the phone? Who's this? Hello? Somebody still on the phone line? Hello? Heather? You're on the air. Who's this?
Hey now.
Hey now. Yoey!
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
First time, long time?
First time, long time. Wait for it. Wait for it, Yoey. Hold on.
I want to,
Oh, no. Ellis, you're messing me up.
Hey now.
That would have been so much better if I would have got it right the first time.
Ellis. Hey now. Hey now.
Is there anything you want to say to Ellis?
Hey now.
Yoey, is there anything you want to say to Ellis?
Ellis. You are hey now. Ellis. You are the band. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now, Ellis. Hey now.
You're talking, Yoey, you're talking to a button.
I know. Oh, man.
What's worse? The fact that you...
The best was yesterday when you said, when Ellis, you brought up the story when you first called Ellis, right? And you called him up on the phone, but I guess like the TikTok was on in the background, and then you're telling him, Ellis, turn down your radio, turn down the radio. So he's looking like for a radio. It's like, turn what down? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Dude, it was hilarious.
Well, because in my mind, that's what, you remember like you'd call into like the Stern show or whatever, and it'd be like, turn down the radio.
Of course.
And
right.
So what was I going to say to Ellis? Turn down your iPad? It just sounded weird.
I know.
It's kind of like when
it's just funny.
Yeah, but I call him up like you're on the air.
Like a radio to turn down.
No, I know. But like I say to him, you're on the air, because what am I going to say? You're on the TikTok live.
Dude, every time you called him, man, it was hilarious, man. Everything, man. He's the best. Hey now. 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 Hey now.
Is there anything you want to say to Ellis?
When's your next Disney trip, Ellis?
No. I have Ellis on the phone now. Do you want to talk to him?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. I'm sorry about Ray, bro. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now.
I'm not even sure you know what's going on right now.
Oh, my God. No, I don't. I just listened to it. Hold on.
What concerns me is you're perfectly fine with talking to a button.
That's fine.
That's fine, he says.
That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Yoey, how are you?
Good. I'm in New Jersey. I feel like I'm in the episodes of Goodfellas, looking for drones.
Did the drone crash? I thought Rob told me, I thought maybe the drone crashed or something.
Yeah, so I hit up Rob over the weekend, and so if you look up Hillsborough, New Jersey, that's where the first reports were when there was like a downed drone. And Rob is a firefighter in Hillsborough. So I hit him up. I was like, yo, dude, what's going on? And he told me, like, dude, he had his guys out there for 18 hours looking for the thing. Somebody called up, saying that, they saw a drone down, whatever. So, dude, it was freezing. It was freezing on, I think it was Saturday.
Rob said 18 hours.
Guys out there looking for a drone. That's crazy. In the freezing cold.
So
they didn't find anything.
But is it spy? I mean, is it another country spying? What is it? And why am I asking you?
I don't know. It's,
of all the people to ask for clarity, Yoey is not the person.
No, man. Listen, I could go down so many different rabbit holes on this, man.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's a crisis.
Let's
call Yoey.
No way the governors know about this.
Listen, that's who we need to. In a time of crisis, we turn to Yoey. Do we think that it's our government though? Is there any indication that our government's just withholding information and this actually something? Because I heard a comment, I think it was from a senator from your state. I don't remember who it was actually. Somebody in DC saying they told us what it isn't. So now it's time to tell us what it is, meaning that they know.
Right. Of course they know. And I mean, if it was China or North Korea, they would have shot these things down by now. And, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's so many different reports now. You see, so this is the problem. The problem is everybody is going to be speculating and, everybody's going to be all and fearful to see what's going on. I've heard anything from, you're looking for nukes, something came into the country to, they're just scoping out, the whole area. The government needs to actually say something and say what are they doing? And because people are scared, but I don't really see it during the day. It's only at night.
I think there's a missed opportunity. You should have told everybody that your son was on the drone. Remember Balloon Boy? And you could have had everybody looking for Drone Boy, and we would have solved this problem by now. But do you remember Balloon Boy? I mean, people were more concerned about Balloon Boy than they are about these random drones. I don't know if that's because drones are commonplace now. But we watched Balloon Boy for days. For days. Because we thought there was a boy in the balloon, Yoey.
Mm-hmm. Nah.
It's like talking to Alice.
And the thing is, remember that whole, you bring up the balloon. And
yeah, I did.
Like that whole balloon that we shot down in like North Carolina or something that, from, I think from Russia. So if they could shoot that down and they knew that was like a foreign entity. But,
we'll see.
These drones up.
We'll see. I mean, I just find it interesting how nobody seems to, not that nobody seems to care, because obviously the people care, but it doesn't seem to be a story, if that makes sense. It seems to be a mystery, but there's no, there's no phenom to it. Usually when something like this occurs in our history, there's a phenom, and I wonder if that's just because the media, not to be cliche about it, but because everybody who knows. We'll find out soon.
It's going to be, we'll see. Exactly.
I'm surprised some rando hasn't just shot it down. Remember the guy that shot down the Walmart drone?
Yeah. So, over the weekend, Trump, he actually said something. He said, insinuating on his Truth Social. So if you don't know what it is, just shoot it down. He said that.
Wow. Wow. What a concept.
Which is pretty scary. Mm-hmm.
You had me at Trump said something. That alone, that statement right there. Do you want to plug your Truth Social handle for everybody?
No, I don't have one. No.
Yes, you do. All right, listen. Did you actually call in to say anything, or did you just call?
No, they do that Vinny call.
Mm-hmm.
A few days ago. What an calling, man. Like he's, just you going to Flushing Meadow Park.
Yeah.
I was just asking all these questions, and I asked my father. My father came here in 1965, just after the World's Fair, but even from Puerto Rico. But I just found out that my uncle who passed away, when he first came, because my family came, my father's out of 12, and people came to the United States back then, just like years, like 2 or 3 years intervals. But one of my uncle's first jobs was he worked there, just cleaning up, and I want to know more. So I just found this out today, that he actually worked just cleaning up after the World's Fair finished. But that whole tire, that Uniroyal tire, dude, that is wild. And I'm trying to look for video of that in motion. Did you see any?
No, so it's funny you say that. I just had to make a note. You reminded me of something. But so Nick went down. Nick, who lives in Brooklyn, had never been to that area. So, and Jason, his partner, said to me, "What are you going to go?" Like, not to be a buzzkill, he goes, "But what are you going? There's nothing there for. Like, there's nothing there." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand." And like Nick kind of got it, but then we showed up there, and I think Nick was more fascinated than he bargained for. So I obviously had my interest, and then the towers is what really got me, because I almost forgot about the towers until I saw them in person. And the towers and the pavilion is what really gets me more than the globe. But all that to say, so we go back to Nick's place, and Nick starts Googling. That was the first time I ever recall seeing a picture of that tire Ferris wheel out of all the photos I've ever seen of the World's Fair. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't there, but it wasn't until I saw that photo. And then Vinny called in the next morning and brought it up, and the toy, and then you were telling me how you were Googling or eBaying for the toy.
Yeah, dude, I wanted to get it, yeah.
Does anybody even have one out there for sale?
I didn't see one. I was doing like a Google image search to see if I could find one, but no.
Why didn't you just type in World's Fair tire toy to eBay?
Nothing. It was just pictures.
Oh, like people selling photos, you mean?
Right. Like photos of the actual, like postcards and stuff like that.
That's the kind of thing. See, that's why I love garage sailing. That's the kind of thing that you just need to know what it looks like, and you find in a garage sale one day in a box of random toys that nobody knows what it is.
And how wild is it that, I guarantee you, like Epcot, had, like the World's Fair had a lot of, impact on Epcot.
Massively.
Because a lot of the same, things, like even like the pictures, like, oh, shit, that looks like Epcot.
Well, again, funny you say that.
The way the layout was.
So Nick is pulling up all these images, and he's like, "Oh, come look at this." And then he pulls up an image, and I go, "That's Epcot," because it looked like Japan and Epcot, and it was straight from the World's Fair. And I always knew, obviously, that Epcot was meant to be a World's Fair, but I didn't realize how much of the imagery, particularly with Japan and Epcot, it's straight out of the World's Fair. Like, it gives me chills even saying that right now. If you know what photo I'm talking about, you'll look at it and you go, "Oh my God, that's Japan. That's Epcot. That's Japan and Epcot." But it is literally the same design, but it's from the 64-65 World's Fair. And it's crazy that they just tore that down.
Right. I drive all day. So, and even when I used to live in the city, I passed that so many times, not even knowing like what was actually there. I knew like the World's Fair was there, but just not really, going down, and seeing like different pictures and seeing how big that was, especially for the city.
And then you think about the Disney side of that, and you think about how Walt is developing Disneyland. Walt is doing his thing, and he gets this opportunity, and instead of saying no, he sees, because they were spread too thin, he sees the ability to not just make money, but also then have rides he can take back to Disneyland for free. I mean, Walt, one of these days we're gonna have to go down this rabbit hole, whether it's here or Kenzie and I do it. Or I was talking to Joshua L. Harris about this when him and I talked. But I don't think people realize the impact that Walt Disney has had beyond movies and entertainment and theme parks. Walt Disney contributed to transportation. He contributed to the way we conduct business. He contributed to the way that we operate as a society. And I mean, even to the way cities are planned. And without doing a little homework, I can't really articulate it the way I want to. But when you look at the World's Fair and you look at what that was and what that stood for, and then you take the Disney of it all. So I'm like, even when I was there, Yoey, it didn't occur to me once, and now I'm bummed that I didn't have this thought walking around there. But it didn't occur to me that Walt walked around there. It didn't occur to me until talking to you right now in this moment that Walt walked that. Yeah, of course, in Disneyland, I've had those thoughts, but and he certainly never walked Disney World. But it never occurred to me until just right now that he walked those grounds, and I was there walking those grounds, and I think that would have given me a real chill to think about. And then you think about the fact that when I was growing up, I was born in 1981. So let's say by the time I'm 10, 12 years old, it's the early 90s. Okay? Not even 30 years after the World's Fair. 30 years. 30 years sounds like nothing. Back then, that 1964 World's Fair sounded like 100 years ago. 30 years now barely gets you pre-2000. It's crazy to think.
Has there been one in the United States since?
I think we were talking about this the other day.
Was there one in like Louisiana or something like that?
I think there was one in Louisiana and one in Chicago. I don't think there was wow. I don't think there was ever anything of the magnitude of the 64, 65, and I certainly know that there were World's Fairs beyond this country. I remember during the pandemic talking to a World's Fair historian personally because I wanted to add elements of the World's Fair into my business. I got really obsessed. Are you familiar with an old Disney attraction that never was built called Harnessing the Lightning?
No.
I believe it was called Harnessing the Lightning or Harnessing Lightning. Somebody can fact check it and drop it in the chat. Walt Disney wanted to build an Edison Square. Never happened. It was going to be off of Main Street. It was going to be off to the side, Edison Square. And Harnessing Lightning was going to be the like a walkthrough exhibit. So there was a point where when I was building this business where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to build Harnessing the Lightning. I'm going to build this walkthrough exhibit, or at least pay an homage to it, because it's an exhibit that never existed. And I thought, how cool would it be to sort of play to that? So I talked to this World's Fair historian, and he was telling me how they still do World's Fairs, just not in this country. And I got to find that guy's name. I don't know what happened to that guy, but it's just a fascinating rabbit hole, and I don't see why we can't do that again.
Yeah, just like you said, all it takes is money, right? Other people's money.
OPM. People don't, you're a business guy. You're an entrepreneur. People don't understand the concept of OPM.
It's true. People just have like a boatload of money, and all I do is just invest.
But we have to do something with it. It can't just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
So OPM, other people's money. I think.
And going back on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just gonna switch. Did you release that audio that Nick gave you of you screaming in the middle of the night?
No.
Bro, come on.
I could probably pull it up.
Listen, if you don't do it, I'm gonna call Nick. I'm gonna get that audio.
Oh, you're blackmailing me now? Let me see if I can find it. So the story goes.
Dude, that's hilarious.
I'm sleeping on Nick's couch, and in the middle of the night, I may have to hang up with you to play this through the Bluetooth.
No, it's all good.
But so I'm sleeping on the couch and it's like 3:30 in the morning and I had a dream and I started screaming in the dream and I woke up the next morning and I did the radio show, and after the radio show I get off the air and Nick is there and I go, "Hey, was I screaming in my sleep?" And he goes, "Wait, was that what that noise was?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I had a weird dream and I didn't know that I was screaming out loud." Normally that's where it would have ended. Nick goes, "Oh, don't worry. I record my snoring." Why? I have no clue. Lord knows what Nick is doing with his snoring recordings. I mean, like, what is he doing? Has he got some sort of third-party website where he's selling snoring recordings? Like, what kind of whack job thing is that to do? Right? So he's like, "Oh, let me go to my snore recording app and see if I can see a peek in the wave files." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Where am I staying? Like, you should have given me disclosures on all of this. I didn't know I was being recorded the whole time."
That's hilarious, man.
I don't know if this will, I can
can't wait to hear
try.
that.
I don't know if this will play right now. I think I have to hang up with you to play it. But, so basically.
All good, all good.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't really want to play it. I don't know if it's going to play. I mean, I have to try. I can try. If not, I'll prepare it for tomorrow. But yeah, I'm like, geez, thanks, Nick.
Nick to the rescue.
Thank you for that. Yeah, 6465 World's Fair, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I keep thinking about that Vinny call. Vinny's a long-time viewer.
Yeah.
Vinny's been watching this stream for as long as I can remember. Doesn't chat a lot. Will come in and say what's up. Will throw his support in there whenever, So he's there. He's there, but he's not an active member of the chat in that respect. He'll say what's up. So to be able to speak to him and hear that story and have it be an extension of a live, it was a short live. It was only like 30 minutes. It was better than nothing. But I love the way that it's like episodes. So I like the way that live stream now breeds a conversation on the radio, which then is podcasted out. And I just like where we're going with all this. I think that we're hitting a stride. I think we're doing something really, really cool.
On the top of the show, you mentioned the early days of the Discord, and it's great to see how far you've come, and it's good to see like the OG people, just like you mentioned earlier, like Danny, that's been watching. It's just good to see,
I love that, and I messaged Danny. I go, I'm so glad you're here. Like, who knew you were even still here? Because you don't just like, I'm always here. Because when you look at the chat and then you look at the number in the top, there's always a much larger amount of people watching quietly. And from the content creator perspective, you only can see the top 100 people. So if somebody's just kind of lurking, you don't know they're there unless they speak up. So it's great when you see the OGs.
Right.
Like, it just reminds you how far you've come. Right. And like, that was fun yesterday. She's like, "Oh, I've been trying to print something forever." I'm like, "Send me the file right now. We're just hanging out." So.
That's awesome that they sent you that. And that's pretty badass. I've never seen anything like that. I don't know what like a 3D printer was until you, I've been to your house. You showed me the ones upstairs, but I've never seen one actual in motion,
All right. So where the printers are upstairs? On that table. So what happened is I was printing one day and the filament, I actually put it through the door jamb because there was no spool. It was just a bunch of loose filament. So I was like, "Oh, I'll stretch it out and like it won't get tangled that way." But the filament usually breaks at some point if it gets pulled too hard. It didn't break. It pulled the whole printer off the table. I came upstairs and the printer was upside down, smashed on the floor.
Damn, that's crazy.
So I reached out to them. Yada, yada, yada. I got a brand new free $500 printer.
And now you're playing Let It Float.
What?
Or Will It Float. And now you're playing Will It Float.
Now we're playing Will It Float. That's right. Look at us go. Listen, I used to love old Letterman, man. Old Letterman shows were like, I am a TV kid. So old TV talk shows and like old radio, we've talked about this 100 times, Stern and all that, but I love talk radio. I love that format. I love old Johnny Carson, old David Letterman stuff. You remember this because you listened to Howard growing up. You remember Jay Thomas?
Jay Thomas, yes.
Jay would always go on Howard's show and Letterman's show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Jay Thomas would tell the Lone Ranger story?
Not coming to me, but I remember him definitely going to the show.
All right. Do me a favor. I'll tell you what we'll do. Shoot me a text later, and I will prep for tomorrow's radio show to play the Lone Ranger story because I love it, and I'll play tomorrow the clip of me screaming in my sleep. That way I can do it properly. Just remind me, because it'll take me 10 minutes off the air to pull those right. But the reason I bring up that story is I was talking about it last night. We were just hanging out. There was a time when everybody used to watch these shows, and this brings me right back to the World's Fair and the conversation that we've been having this whole day today. People used to gather around. When Carson was, the reason Johnny Carson lasted as long as he lasted is because he was the show. There was nobody else to watch. It wasn't until Leno and Letterman came up and did their thing that there was an alternative to Johnny Carson. So everybody would watch Johnny Carson. So then everybody talked the next morning about what happened on Johnny's show. And people felt connected. And it's funny to me how with broadcast television, which is a one-way medium, meaning you can't interact with it, people felt more connected than they do in the age of social media and comments and likes and engagement, you know? You still there, Yoey? Hello, Yoey.
Hello.
What'd you do? Did you take a break?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
No. For some reason, the phone was on mute.
That was for some reason. You probably hit it with your cheek.
Probably. No, I got my Bluetooth on.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but you're absolutely right.
Too much technology has made us divided, oddly.
Yeah. It's not like the old days. You know, you only had that few options, of entertainment. Now it's like a whole plethora, man.
Right. So you can go find that little corner you want to be comfortable in and just stay there and then never be exposed to anything different, never be enlightened, never be informed or educated beyond what you already know. It's almost like now with all this information, you have to go searching for something if you really want to be informed and educated. You actually have to, despite it being everywhere, you actually have to go find it because there's so much of it.
Right.
Look, YouTube is an amazing resource. YouTube University all day long. Do you know what YouTube University is?
Dude, you can find anything. You know, if you don't know what to do, just go on YouTube. They have everything.
Right.
Anything. Show you how to do it.
How to change a sensor in your car. How to fix a washing machine. Mm-hmm. How to reset your internet. Anything. My entire arcade business was YouTube.
There's no reason why.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't do anything as far as, trying to fix something around the house or.
My whole arcade business that got me to this started with YouTube University. I had one game. I didn't know how to fix it. I went to YouTube. Once it taught me what I needed to know, I just kept going. I'd buy more things. How does this work? I'll go to YouTube, download the manual. And then before you knew it, I had a garage filled with stuff. I'll let you go. I'm going to tell this story. I'll let you get back to work. But
you got it, man.
Hey, I appreciate you.
I'll talk to you.
I appreciate you.
Later, man.
Later. So I go to YouTube University to figure out how to fix the first arcade game. And then I get this game where you put the coin and it rolls down. Just a short little game, a rockabola, and the coin knocks down the bowling pins kind of thing. And I had to figure out how it worked. And so I just kept going to YouTube University. And then eventually I went to this shop and I said to this guy, I needed this part, that part, and the other. And he said, what are you doing? I go, I'm repairing this, that, and the other. And he goes, oh, do you know how to fix these games? And I said, well, not really. Not really. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, if you know how to fix this, that, and the other, I'll send you some games to your garage. And I said, oh, okay, cool. His employees pulled me aside and said, don't let this guy send games to your garage. He's just going to use them for storage. Don't let this guy send games to your garage. He's going to take advantage of you. I said, what is the downside to having games in my garage? So I cut a deal with this guy. I said, all right, you want to drop off? He had no room. He was so overfilled with storage. He couldn't even get a new place. He was so backed up on paying rent that his landlord, his real estate agent, wouldn't even show him another commercial space because he owed so much money in back rent. This is like an episode. This is like something right out of like The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis. This guy can't fulfill his work orders. And his business is just flapping in the wind. And they've been around for decades and just stretched thin. So he wants to send games to me because he wants to make space. Figures I'm not going to fix them quick enough because I told him I only know what I know. So he sends me a dozen arcade games on a Friday. One of them had a couple $100 in quarters in it. I popped off the lock and it was filled with a couple $100 in quarters. Then I wound up fixing almost every single arcade game he sent me. And I had cut a deal with the guy. And I'm kind of telling the story a little backwards. But I had cut a deal with the guy because I had just finished making a movie. I had just finished making a movie that had stretched me thin because unlike OPM, I had worked with others to finance it ourselves. And we had just moved and I didn't have work and I was out of money. So I made a deal. For every game I fix, without the monitor repairs, because I don't do monitor repairs because I'm new at this, I get $125. Drops the games off on a Friday. By Monday morning, he owed me over $1,000. So Friday, I'm broke. Monday, I'm owed $1,000. So that little bit of knowledge from YouTube University allowed me to fix almost every one of those arcade games he dropped off within less than a weekend. And now he wants some of the games back because, oh, you got it working. I need that game to fulfill an order. But he didn't have the manpower or the space or the time to figure out what he was sitting on. So now I'm making money and I realize I have an opportunity. He sends me more games. He takes some games back and I'm learning and growing and learning and growing. And I'm using YouTube to teach myself. And now I know how to fix monitors. And now the guy is like, you should come work for me. And I'm like, I don't really want to come work for you. I'll come help you, but I want to work for myself. But I go over there and I start working there. But I'm like, I want to do my own thing. And it was always understood I want to do my own thing. And he can't get more space. I said, well, why don't I help you? I just made a movie. I know a guy that's got warehouse space. So I reach out to this guy named Paul and I say, hey, Paul, I need some warehouse space. And I'm thinking of the area where we shot this movie. And Paul goes, well, listen, that space isn't available, but I'm backed up on rent at this other warehouse. And I'm about to get kicked out because I was going to sublease it to this guy and he backed out and now I'm all over the place. I said, I got you. So I got two guys, two grown men. I'm in my 30s at the time. I have these two grown men who are successful in their own right in business, but completely overextended and neither one can pay their rent. Here's what I did. I go to the guy who needed the space and I say, I found you a warehouse. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're a real doer. Here's the deal. He needs a check for this much money and you're in. I can get you the guys to load up the truck and and do the labor for you because I have people that help me with production. So now I'll get my friends paid. I'll get your problem solved, and I'll go solve this other guy's problem. No problem. He writes me the check. So I go over to the other guy and I go, I have your check. And he goes, great. I just need to get guys to clear out the warehouse so that you can bring in the games. And now it's all happening super fast. I said, I got guys for you. I said, I'll tell you what, my guys are going to be moving this guy's arcade games into the warehouse. Why don't you pay them to move your stuff out? Well, my crew loved me because they were getting paid from 2 different guys to move stuff in and out at the same time. And everybody knew what was going on. There was nothing surreptitious happening, but I was solving problems for everybody so fast and so efficiently that the value was there. So now I got a team of guys that are getting paid by 2 different individuals to do the same amount of work. So they're getting 2 to 1. Everybody's thrilled. This guy's getting rid of his assets. This guy's paying his rent. Everybody's happy. We filled up that warehouse so quick. So quick. And the guy with the arcade games goes, I need more space. And the guy who rented me the warehouse goes, I have more space. Right next door on the other side of the wall. How much? Okay. I go tell the other guy. Now, mind you, the guy who's got all the arcade games that needs my help has never seen the place, doesn't have access to the place. He just trusted me because I was getting it done so fast for him. And I did not break his trust. So now we've moved 80 arcade games into a 2,000 square foot warehouse. And now it's time to clear out the 4,000 square foot warehouse, including the pallet racking and all the shelves, and bring in the arcade games from next door that we just moved once, move them all again. So now we're moving out shelves and pallets of stuff, and we were in the San Fernando Valley, so they were doing video duplication services. Read between the lines, we were in the San Fernando Valley, so there's all sorts of pallets of DVDs. I mean, there's this thing over here next to someone's bar mitzvah video. It was wild to see, okay? And we're dodging things, right? I mean, literally playing Frogger, trying to move stuff in and move stuff out. But everybody's happy because everybody's getting paid and problems are being solved. By the time this guy comes over to see his video games, I have set up a 5,000 square foot warehouse divided into 2 sections. Functioning showroom with 100 arcade games that were once dead, now all running. And then the back half of the warehouse with probably another 70 machines to 80 machines sandwiched in so dense that you could walk across the top of the arcade games. We called it the stack. So I've now taken somebody's ashes and used it to build the foundation for what would become my business. Because now this guy that I helped out turns to me one day and goes, listen, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I really feel like, you should be running your own business now. I said, no problem. I overnight switched all the bills over, and overnight I took on all the overhead. I just jumped head first into my own business. And he agreed to pay me rent, but now I took over the lease, and everything I flipped the switch because I had solved problems for this guy and solved problems for that guy. And now this guy kind of had a little tinge of buyer's remorse. And I didn't blink. I said, no problem. I'll take all the responsibility on. And that was how I built my arcade business. All from YouTube University. YouTube University and some willpower. And I took 2 people's problems. I solved both of their problems. I built the foundation for my own business using OPM, essentially. So when the time came and this guy said, hey, you know what? I think it is time for you to go out on your own. I said, no problem. It wasn't an argument. In fact, thank you. I'm ready for this moment. Overnight, all the bills, I took over all the bills quicker than he expected. He probably thought I was going to blink. I just took the plunge because at that point, I felt with everything that I had learned, with everything that I had accomplished, that I could do it. But I used the opportunity to minimize the risk. If I would have attempted to go out and get a warehouse and build a business from scratch and find the assets, I would have been in the hole and never been successful. But the entire business was built on other people's problems. And in a very, very reasoned way. It was just, I'll help you solve your problems and build the foundation for my own thing. So I went from helping one guy out to helping out the other guy to being on my own, because it was like, hey, I appreciate what you've done, but now you got to go out on your own. And I'm like, great, let's go. It's all I ever wanted. All because of a YouTube video teaching me how to fix an arcade game. That I went from having a dozen machines in my garage to that first warehouse to that second warehouse. And when it was all said and done, I had 12,500 square feet of warehouse. Music videos, Hobson, Little Pump. There was a YouTube show that kids used to watch like crazy that Joe Coconuts featured all over. It was called Chicken Girls on YouTube. Anybody remember Chicken Girls on YouTube? They shot in my arcade all the time. I'm probably all over those episodes. Joe Coconut's probably all over those episodes. Facebook shot one of their first TV shows ever in our arcade. We did a Howard Stern reunion show in the same soundstage. So there were all of these things that transpired. But it all started with a YouTube education. And that's kind of crazy to think about, right? It's kind of crazy to think that I watched a YouTube video, learned how to do something, and then built a business. And it all came off the ashes of nothing. I mean, it's the same story over and over again. Like, I had nothing to lose, everything to gain. I went from being broke on a Friday to having $1,000 owed to me on a Monday. And then just within 18 months after that, we're talking warehouses. Within just a year after that, we're talking half the building. There was a point we were almost going to buy the building. And then the rest is history. We go from there to the pandemic, to possibly building the new location, raising money for the new location, having deals with Atari and Microsoft for the new location, to having everything get completely obliterated, to picking up the pieces, to moving to Orlando to escape the lawsuit, to using all of that escapism to build a completely new endeavor, and here we are today. So if you're new, if you've just tuning in for the first time these last couple days, albeit the short version of the story, it all started with a YouTube video. It all started with YouTube University. Learning how to fix something, solving somebody else's problems, and using that foundation of other people's issues, problems, whatever you want to call them, using that as a foundation to build a business. I basically took other people's trash and turned it into my treasures. That's the story. That's how I went from having nothing to building an arcade business that thrived for years to getting to here we are today. Wild story. Wild, wild story. I'll never forget that, though. Those guys loved it. They were getting paid on both sides. If I could only tell you the names of some of those DVDs. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. But it's kind of a crazy story when you kind of spell it out like that. YouTube University. All right, let's do another round of ads. We'll take a couple more calls. We'll get out of here. Are you ready to spice up your holiday Wait, what? Are you ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots, pans, and knives. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. They fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. They're here to guide you through every step of the way. Call now at 305-213-5438 for a free consultation today. The law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy, 305-213-5438. Your trusted advocate in time of need. In times of need. Ooh, struggling today. Last minute shipping from the parks. Did you buy that impulsive lightsaber purchase at the last minute and now you can't schlep it on the airplane because your wife won't let you? I don't blame her either. But my friends at the UPS store will help you out. Visit the UPS store located at 6526 Old Brick Road, located behind the Magic Kingdom. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. And if you're local, they got P.O. boxes and a notary as well. The UPS store located at 6526 Old Brick Road. And if you're looking to travel, reach out to William.bailey, William.bailey Travel, for any of your destination planning, Disney, cruises, or you're just looking to explore a new country, or maybe just that long walk to the mailbox to get away from the family during the holiday season. William will help you plan that escape. William.bailey, William.bailey at academytravel.com. Reach out to William.bailey for customizable rates, or competitive rates, and a customizable experience. Excuse me so much for improving on the fly. And sometimes we're so worried about this life in this moment, we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate with legal fights and fees. A will or trust is not just for the Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today. And if you don't live in Florida, please don't come. There's plenty of us here already. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today. I'm just kidding. Florida's fantastic. To make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love, send an email to Russell@RKLawPro.com, Russell@RKLawPro.com to schedule your appointment today. Florida's fantastic, but we don't need any more people. We're all, no vacancies. No vacancies. No vacancies. Thank you to all of the sponsors. Thank you to all of us. I just try to improvise a little bit when I'm reading the copy so that it's not redundant to the last one. That's all I got, Vanessa. I don't know what I'm doing here. 253-263-1540. Boo. I'm kidding. I mean, listen. I adore living in Florida. I also live in my own little world because I'm right behind the parks, and I don't go, unless it's to go to the airport, I don't get on the highway. So I don't see the highway. I have my own little, I love my neighborhood. I love that I'm a stone's throw from everything I need. I could walk to Walmart if I wanted to, even though I don't like Walmart. I wish it was a Target, but you learn to love. And I'm a 10-minute drive from the Polynesian, and I absolutely love living in Florida. So for all the joking, Florida is amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love Florida. Love Florida. Never thought I'd live in Florida. It's kind of weird because growing up, my grandparents probably would have loved it, you know? I mean, they're sadly both gone, but they would have loved the idea of me living in Florida. And it's sad to think that I didn't get to see them more before they passed. And now that I'm here and they're not, it's a little bittersweet. But at the same time, I think they think it's cool that I'm here. So I love Florida. Florida's been good to me. I can't complain. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm tired. It's been a long time. I'm going to hang out with you on TikTok for a minute. And chat, but we're going to wrap up the show. Some great calls today. Yoey, thank you. Heather, thank you. Danny, thank you. I can't believe the level of service that Uber is providing in Miami. I mean, who knew? White glove, door-to-door Uber service in Miami. And if you're suffering from a medical emergency, no bedside manner needed. They'll apparently ask you if you need to cancel your trip right there as you're suffering. So shout out to Uber for vetting their 1099ers. I can't believe that. Well, ma'am, would you like me to cancel your trip? What do you think, buddy? She didn't even have a trip. She just told you she didn't even book an Uber. And now you're like, do you want me to cancel the trip? What does she care? Her leg is falling off and you're trying to deal with your microtransaction? Leave me alone. All right, I'll see y'all later. Good night, everybody. Good night. It's the morning. Oh, my God, I am out of it. Goodbye.